Warning, the following audio transmission will forever change your outlook on society. You will no longer believe the narrative. You are about to wake up and see things for what they really are. News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Everywhere on social media, @Jester Dooms. The website, www.jestersvoice.com. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy motherfucking Monday. I hope your morning is off to a good start, because it's only February, guys. I'm gonna put that out there again. It's only February, and we're only halfway through February, and man, this year is like just off to a crazy start. Okay, I can't get over all the things that have been in the media, but hold on to your butts. It's only going to get wilder. It's only going to get crazier. I hope your coffee's nice and hot. I'm sitting here enjoying a cup of Rise mushroom coffee, which is I don't know how to put it. It's a very unique flavor, the Rise, because when I've gotten other batches of it, it had like almost like a mocha kind of aftertaste, like, hints of like mochaccino maybe kind of thing. But this I don't know, this batch I got this last go around tastes just like dirt. So maybe they went a little heavy on one of the mushrooms that's in there. I don't really know, but I really enjoyed the Rise mushroom coffee. And I'm not paid to say that. I enjoy it. And it's really nice and convenient whenever all you have to do is microwave a cup of water and throw some mushrooms powder in it. But it is like right now, it's like, it's not a very good cup because this batch tastes like dirt. And so I'm drinking hot dirt water is essentially what's happening. But enough about that. I hope you woke up and did your daily affirmations and that your Monday's off to a fantastic start. Ladies and gentlemen, disappointment comes in different facets all the time. Okay, it really, truly does. And everybody gets upset about different things on different levels. Okay, so like my level of upset can be like, who gives a shit? I'm not really bothered by that. Or I can go straight to infuriation, seeing red, ocular migraine, stressed out to the max, ready to tear someone's head off, right? Now, I don't ever act on these emotions and go ballistic. Like I'm not that kind of person. I am very level-headed, and I can work with anger, and I could work with my emotions, and I don't go overboard. Some people cannot do that, okay? And I think a lot of what we're seeing right now in the media, with the chaos and the just everything that we see, mainly revolving around the ICE situations, is people have the inability to regulate the emotions. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Why is that? Why don't they have that within them to be able to say, hey, this isn't a smart decision, or hey, I shouldn't have said that, or hey, I shouldn't do that, or even have the decency to apologize. Now, I did have my own case with anger and emotion last week in regards to dealing with the contractor I've hired to do the block work here at the property. And some shit is just not easy to deal with. I don't care who you are. It's just not. Whenever there's money on the line and you pay for a job, you're expecting certain quality, and you're expecting things to be done in a timely manner. But you understand also that shit happens, life happens, and you understand that. So, needless to say, my plan and my tactic worked last week of telling my guy that, hey, we gotta kind of get this done like ASAP, because I got a guy coming out here on Monday for inspection. So that's on the list of things to do today, is my inspector should be here to inspect the house. So that's pretty fun and exciting. I don't know what time he's getting here today. Hopefully soon, because I don't want my entire day to be just kind of tied up waiting on this man. But I could, I have the gentleman's number. I could shoot him a text and say, hey, are you coming out? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. And he can let me know yes or no, or maybe, or whatever. That's how that's going to go. Once we're done with that, I now have the irritating process of making phone calls to find a reasonable concrete truck with a reasonable concrete pump, and also blowing holes into the wall of the foundation for, all of the things, plumbing, electrical, all of the things have to be done. Yeah. And I can't say I'm all too excited about being out there drilling through block all day, but it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it. We're going to get it. We're going to get it done. It's going to be a thing. It's going to get done. So I don't know. Anyway, let's see here. That's it. That's it. That's the Monday plan. Get up, have the coffee, meet with this inspector. Hope your coffee's good and hot. Mine tastes like dirt currently, but that's another story. Also, over the weekend we had a lot of stress over the weekend that I'm going to get into with the first segment of the show in regards to the homesteading stuff, because it can be very stressful sometimes. Okay. Outside of that, we should have big news about something we've been working on very soon. We've been working on this idea for a while, producer Scooter and myself. Don't smile. I'm not telling them today. It's not that. No. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the show. We greatly appreciate it. It helps me and Scooter out tremendously when you do that. And make sure to give me that 1 week IRL where you tell a friend, family member, or coworker about the Doom Daily Show. And I know some of you are, because I'm watching the numbers slowly trickle up. Ever so slowly trickle up. And like I said, we'll never be a mainstream show. So if you want it to grow, push it out. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, producer Scooter here. First off, thank you for downloading and participating in the wide world of Jester Doom. Please be sure to check out jestersvoice.com website. Everything you want to know is located on jestersvoice.com. If you're looking for salacious details, it's on jestersvoice.com. Don't forget to share the show with your friends and even with all your enemies. And now, back to the musings of Jester Doom.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. Again, I'm your host, Jester Dooms. The website, jestersvoice.com. Go there, leave us an audio message by using the button at the top of the screen. Homestead woes, man. Homestead woes. So, Saturday, my son comes to me and says, Daddy? I said, yeah. He says, one of the goats is having a baby. I said, oh, well, let's go check that out. So, sure as shit, the goat's in labor, but it's not passing this goat, okay? This particular goat is a Nigerian dwarf goat, and this particular Nigerian dwarf goat was the runt of the litter, so she was extremely small. Never really grew. Like the dwarf goat had dwarfism, essentially. And, you never know how, these critters act and what actually happens and things like that. And, you don't know till you know. I never had it in my head, being worried about this goat, having a kidding or carrying, getting pregnant. I was never worried about it because animals are more resilient than humans are in certain respects. So a goat getting pregnant and having babies is a natural thing. They don't need to go to the hospital. They don't need medications and things. They don't need that. Anyway, I digress. So the goat's in labor for a while. And for those of you that don't know, it's like once you crest that 8-hour mark in the goat world, it's pretty much all bets are off. Someone's not surviving, whether it's the kid or it's the mom or both. They are not surviving. Okay, it's not a thing. So anyway, the long and the short is, we're like, all right, we'll keep an eye on her. We'll monitor. We come back in a couple hours, and sure as shit, there's a baby goat. But that baby goat didn't come out of that goat. It came out of another goat that we didn't know was going into labor that day. Now, this goat has had multiple kiddings, and her first kidding she ever had was a stillborn. And it was the same kind of situation of what we dealt with this last go round of I see that she's in labor. 8 hours has gone by. What is happening? Well, she passed it, and it was still stillborn, and she just ignored it. And that was the end. Every kidding since then's been fine. And she's a great goat mom. Okay. Now, in light of all this, that particular goat still looks big. So I'm wondering if she doesn't have another kid in there, right? So my wife and kids are going out and monitoring the goat at this point. I've just called it because I'm like, she's been in labor for 24 hours. Like she's not either the baby's not going to make it or she's not going to make it. And there's nothing we can do. And I'm not going to dispatch a goat because of the unknown. I'm not going to put it down because we don't know. Like it's very inhumane. So, as they're bebopping back and forth and, I was told like, hey, another goat has been born. We think that the other female that just gave birth had a second one and that came out of that one. And we're like, oh, okay, well, it's not. It was another one entirely. So we had three goats trying to be born over the weekend. Okay, 3 all in one, like 24-hour time span. So my wife decided to assist with the birth and got the kid out, which was stillborn. Okay, now the goat that couldn't pass this kid also did not survive. Her body was in stress way too long. She didn't make it through the. I mean, if maybe we would have assisted earlier, there may have been more hope in the goat surviving. However, the goat was not crowning. Like there was no way to assist yet. And as soon as assistance was able to be had, assistance was there. But it's also, I don't like to do that because sometimes when you do that, you can actually do more harm than good and create internal hemorrhaging. And at that point, it's like, there's no helping. You're not doing anything. You don't take, a goat in for $10,000 emergency surgery. Like you don't do that. So at least not here. We don't do that here anyway. So long and the short of it, this conversation with the goats is we're going through this chaotic weekend of this one's not passing this kid. This one just plopped one out. We didn't even know she was pregnant. And look, there's a second one. Who does it belong to? Oh, it belongs to this one that we also didn't know was pregnant because goats hide their pregnancies very well. And at this point, I'm running around looking just like, taking a step back as I'm running around doing all this stuff, looking around. I'm like, we have a dozen fucking goats here. Like, what are we doing with our lives? We have a dozen goats. There's too many fucking goats. So I sent my wife a message. I was like, hey, do you care if I just like get rid of some goats today? And she's like, no, I don't care. So I had put a post on our like county Facebook page about, hey, I got some goats. I'm trying to thin out the herd. I'm not asking for any money. They just kind of have to go. Within 10 minutes after posting that, I've got more messages than I can respond to. It was absolutely insane. Okay. Now, this is very, very off for me because usually I'll put something on Marketplace or whatever, and it takes weeks to get a message, days to get a message. Like you don't ever hear anything sometimes. But this particular situation, I started getting blown up. And there was this one guy, he was messaging me. And then he just gave me some numbers like, can you just call me? And I'm like, yeah. This 15-year-old kid. Okay. He really likes animals, really likes animals. Like I guess him and his mom work some kind of a animal rescue kind of thing, like take donations and all the things. And I'm like, you really want all these goats, man? He's like, yeah, how many are there? I'm like, I think there's about 6. And this kid's telling me, this kid was freaking awesome. He says, yeah, dude, look, this is what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to come get him in my minivan. Like, what? In a minivan? I was like, you'll be driving down a road with goats in the minivan, fighting back there and being crazy. He's like, oh yeah, I'll just put a tarp down. It'll be fine. And I'm like, dude, that's sketchy, man. I don't know. And he's like, oh no, it'll be fine. Well, this kid had a whole entire plan. He systematically took all these animal crates and like stuffed them in the van in a way to where they were all secure. And like, it was like the 2 big males each had their own cage that he took. And then he like doubled up and put like 3 goats or 2 or 3 goats per carrier and the rest. Anyway, the kid took a half a dozen goats. He took 6 goats, right? So it was, we were really happy because this just decreased our population by half, and it's going to keep growing is the thing. It's going to keep growing. So anyway, long and the short of this is we got rid of a handful of goats over the weekend because we just came to the realization over the weekend that we're just overrun and we can't handle this anymore. It's just absolutely wild. So that happened yesterday. We dwindled the goat population down significantly, and we're really, 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 we're really happy about that. Okay. So I felt it was a talking point for the show. Okay. Whatever. If you don't like it, jog on. I don't care. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast and the Doom Daily Show here. Do you ever find yourself overloaded with way too much information? Too many logins, too many passwords, too many websites for stuff you like? Yeah, I'm the same way. You don't have to worry about that with the Doom Daily Show and It's Doomsday Podcast. Let's make it simple. Just visit linktree.com/JesterDooms. Add it to your bookmarks. That way, when you need to find the right information, it's right there, under a tap of your finger or a click of your mouse. Go to linktree.com/JesterDooms. Get it, got it, done. Remember, no one has all the answers, but this will provide you with a place to start. linktree.com/JesterDooms. And now, on with the conversation. And here's Jester.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I'm your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Everyone on social media at Jester Dooms. The website, jestersvoice.com. All these things, right? All these things that you should be checking out. Also, there's another episode of It's Doomsday Podcast dropped today. So if you're not listening to my other show, It's Doomsday Podcast, go over and listen to It's Doomsday Podcast, okay? We work hard on these things, all right? You know, there's a lot of effort that goes in. At least you could do is click that play button. You got it? Good. Okay, now, this next segment of the show might end up sucking up the entire fucking show. Now, there's a million things to talk about that's taking place in the media right now, but I want to tell you about some things that aren't taking place in the media, okay? So yesterday marks a decade for losing my mother. Okay, it's been officially 10 years since she decided to take her own life. Okay. It's a very stressful time of year. This is why we don't really celebrate Valentine's Day in my house. It's just a very stressful time because the last time I seen my mother alive was on Valentine's Day. Okay. And I definitely was not the sweetest, nicest person because, you know, no, I didn't know that was going to be the last day I was going to spend with her. We always disregard people until it's too late. Like we do that. I'm very guilty of that, not necessarily taking somebody for granted, but just, you know, the idea of they're there, they're always going to be there. You know, it doesn't matter how nice or how, you know, sweet you are because, you know, they're your family. They're going to love you, whatever. But the reason I wanted to get into this and talk about this, and if you guys have ever listened to my past shows on It's Doomsday Podcast or listen to any of the live podcasts I've done, I talk about suicide prevention a lot, okay? And I used to get into this a lot more when it was fresher, okay? And I've really dialed it back, all right, from where I used to be at. When things are fresher, I guess they have a way to just stick in your mind more, and you're always questioning things. I guess that's kind of why it was so fresh. But you know, before we really tear into everything I'm going to tell you, just remember there is help out there. Okay, there's a website 988lifeline.org, 988lifeline.org, and you can call that number. You can text the number. They have online chat. There are resources out there, okay? 24/7, 365, there is somebody to talk to. So if you yourself are struggling and just need to speak to somebody, they are available, all right? Now, there's a lot of... So the first things first, if anybody is suicidal, okay, there are a lot of warning signs, okay? And the ones that stick out the most are ones that we kind of ignore. Okay. My mother she started isolating herself the days before. We had just arrived in town, my wife and I, with our newborn son. He was only a few months old at the time. And my uncle's over, my aunt's over, and we're like reminiscing, going through old pictures and stuff like this. And my mom is just like not there. She's not in the room. She's not around. She's just like hiding from everybody. And like, I'm just like, what is she doing? So she started doing the isolation, just not being there, not being around. That was a big warning sign. The other thing was her habits leading up to this. And It was things like a lot of confusion. Like the day before she died, we woke up and my mom said she was going to make breakfast and she was off to the store to go get stuff for breakfast. She disappeared for like 4 or 5 hours and came back with nothing. And we're like, "Where did you go?" She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, we were supposed to do breakfast and you were gone for 5 hours, wouldn't answer her phone, nothing." And we couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Like it didn't make any sense at all. Now, she was also getting really worried about financial things, like dwelling over things that just did not matter. So the night before she took her own life, we all went out to dinner together. And we're at this restaurant. I remember we ordered the spinach and artichoke dip. And it's like they give you this big plate of spinach and artichoke with like a handful of like tortilla chips, right? And I mentioned something like, "Hey, when the server comes, back around, we got to get some more chips." My mom looks at me and she goes, "Think about the money that those are going to cost." And I'm like, "For extra chips?" And me like a smartass, I'm like, "They don't charge you for these things. Like they're going to give you extra chips. Like look at all this spinach and artichoke dip." But like my mind's like, when we paid for the dip, what are we going to do? Waste it? Like we need more chips for the dip just because there's so much of it. So when the server come around, just to be an ass, I looked at the server. I was like, "Hey, how much are extra chips?" And she goes, "They're nothing. They're free." I'm like, "Okay, can we get some?" Just to kind of like stick it to my mom and be like, "See, told you." But it was like weird, like just very stressed out over little increments of money, which was just so damn bizarre. But I think in a weird way, that was a warning sign because she, in her mind, it's like, look, I support, and we weren't living at home at the time, this was years after I moved out. But in her mind, she was like the supporter of the household. So maybe in a weird way, she was like, well, you guys better start pinching pennies now because when I do what I'm about to do, y'all are going to need every penny that you got. Like maybe that was in her mind. I don't know. So moving forward from that, another warning sign that we saw was she was extremely apologetic over everything. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what it was. She was apologizing for things she didn't even do, like on repeat nonstop. And we got so fed up with it and so sick. I was like, "Mom, shut up. Stop apologizing. Like, why are you apologizing for this? You didn't even do this." Like, I don't know. And it could be something real random. Like the mailman's driving by and like beeps his horn and I spill my drink because it startled me. She's apologizing for that. Just things that didn't make any sense. Clearly a warning sign. The other thing we noticed was that she had a lot of weight loss, like in a very, very, very short period of time. Like very short period of time. We saw her, I think it was like from summer to Thanksgiving. She dropped like 20 pounds out of nowhere. We're like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Well, I stopped eating chips." And we're like, "No, that's not it. Like, how are you losing this weight?" And then we found out that she's barely eating. Like, barely eating. Like, we're going out to dinner. She's like, "I'll just take a cup of soup. That's all I want." And it's like, that's it? You're going to have a cup of soup? Not a bowl, but a cup. Okay, sure, if that's what makes you happy, right? And after the fact, the weird life insurance policies, okay, that's what was weird. Like, she had went out and bought a cancer policy. She had 2 life insurance policies. Like, she was doing things. Now, granted, life insurance and things like this are normal to have, but it just all seemed odd after the fact. Okay, it all seemed odd. Now, something that I was not privy to, and this is what I want you all to do if you start seeing warning signs, okay, is a lot of the times if somebody is saying they're suicidal, it's usually for the attention, to get out of some sort of trouble, to divert focus on something if they did wrong. Like there's a lot of instances like that do happen. It's the silent ones that are showing the signs of these things that you really need to take into consideration. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert. So I'm just telling you my experience, hoping that the information I'm passing along to you can help prevent somebody else from taking their own life. Okay, that's the whole purpose of shedding light on this on today's show. So I come to find out after the fact from my father that she was exhibiting a lot more signs of suicidal tendencies after the fact. Apparently, like, he knew something was coming and certain things were mentioned that I guess at the time didn't seem like a big, huge freaking deal. But after the fact, like looking back on it in hindsight, it's like, holy shit, like he should have called me. He should have called somebody. But in his brain at the time, he didn't realize that he should have been looking for these signs. He didn't realize like certain things that were coming out of her mouth were scary. Like he didn't put the puzzle together because he didn't think this would have happened. Like my mother was a very bubbly, happy person. You wouldn't think that she would have went out this way. Like you wouldn't have thought that. She was always bright and bubbly and laughy and smiley. Like she was not a person that ever acted depressed. She'd get pissed. You know, she'd yell at me. She'd get pissed, but she wasn't, she was not anybody that ever appeared depressed. Okay. And I tell you this side of the story because sometimes the people in your circle will confide with the person that may be depressed or maybe having suicidal thoughts or ideals, right? So say that you are in a situation where like you're noticing some things are off about your mother. Okay. Maybe you go to your father or you go talk to another sibling and you say, hey, how's mom been? I'm noticing some things and I need to know if I should be concerned. Your brother might look at you and tell you, yeah, dude, I talked to mom last week. She said she was ready to end it all. I thought she was just talking shit, but if you're seeing something, maybe we got to get her some help. And maybe that short 30-second conversation would be all that's needed to get that person in there. Okay. Maybe that's all that's needed. Now, some people do feel that they have incurable problems. Some people do need to be medicated. Some people do need therapy. These are all things that are realities. Okay. We ignore mental health all the time and we do not shed enough light on it. And I want you all to start doing that. I want you all to start taking your mental health and the people's mental health around you seriously. And that doesn't mean you sympathize for the person with blue hair and you don't misgender them because you don't want to upset them. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Fuck them. They'll be okay. But people that are actually truly depressed and truly need help, those are the ones, man. Those are the ones. Anyway, that's about all the time we have for today, guys. Make sure to, like, share, subscribe to the show, do all the things to help keep us going. And your code word of the week is wooden spoon. That's it. I'm out of here.
News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.